Well, you'd say it's a fairly comfortable win for Sri Lanka to kick off Group B in Asia Cup 2023. Bangladesh fought hard with the ball, but boy, it was not something they'll remember. At least their fans won't, because it's an epic derby. This, if you guys watched the preview, you'd know we were showing off our Nagin dances. But I'm joined by, of course, the comfort of my house, but also have Nikhil Popat and Somesh Agarwal right now joining us. So keep your comments coming through. We'll take all of it. We'll show you some sumptuous stats in this match review right here, right now on cricket.com. And like this video before we talk to the boys. Talk to the boys we will. And just want to ask Som about a certain Shanto, a certain Bangladesh. But look, you and me called correctly, more than good Kirat the Knicks, because let's pat ourselves in the back. We went for Sri Lanka and they showed why. Plenty of talking points, but what stuck out the most for you, Somesh Agarwal?
Okay. First and foremost, it was a slightly difficult of the games to watch. I sort of felt that it crawled at its pace. So overall, it's good for Sri Lanka that they have a win, because let's be fair. On paper, Bangladesh looked the stronger side, but Sri Lanka sort of now have that win, which is good for them. The positive for them is, of course, Pathirana. We were discussing ahead of the show that maybe his usefulness would be in the top and the tail. But they used him differently. He was sort of used as a middle over enforcer, something that actually they did during the qualifiers as well. So it was good. I was surprised by Bangladesh players' approach against him, because I just felt that they over attacked him. But I was just thinking, by putting myself in their shoes, maybe he bowls at an angle and at a pace where even if you try to dab him, the ball will inevitably, if it takes the edge, it will fly to the third man. And that is what maybe happened. Shakib, for one, was clearly was flummoxed by pace. He was late to the shot, which is very, very unlike Shakib. And Mushfiqur Rahim also threw his wicket away. But for someone who expected this from Bangladesh, I was not surprised, because this is not the first time when Bangladesh cricket has not lived up to the quote unquote hype.
No, I agree with you. And even that Mushfiqur Rahim dismissal, like you mentioned, the way Pathirana sussed him out, Knicks, is quite brilliant, because he went full, and then he threw the bluff and he fell for it, Mushfiqur, which you can't really blame him, because you were trying to go after the bowling at that point in time. Now, Knicks, if I tell you, Sri Lanka with the win today have registered their longest winning streak in one-day international history. Am I lying, or am I being factually right?
Factually right, because they won qualifiers, right?
Yes, they did. So 11 wins, which is the longest streak in their ODI history. The last time they managed to eke out 10 wins was 20 years ago. Some of the guys that we work with in the Bangalore office wasn't even born then. So well done, Sri Lanka, and good positive signs for them. Speaking of Sri Lanka, Som just mentioned Pathirana and Tikshana. What are the other positives? Because Samara Vikrami was brilliant as well.
Yeah, I think the key thing which we discussed even at the time of the preview, that they've opted to bat first. It is going to be overcast and the ball will do a bit. And had Shanaga taken that catch of Shanto earlier, this game could have been even more difficult for them. So I think something that we discussed, that the youngsters are there and they are doing their bits to step up. But like we discussed, it's the form of Rahim and Shakib that is going to be key. See, it is not that no team doesn't rely on their seniors. Every team needs their seniors to step up. And that's what happened with Sri Lanka, but not with Bangladesh. You see, Sri Lanka started well with Rajita. Tishina struck immediately, and then the pressure was always there. And when Pathirana came in, as Som said, the dismissals of Rahim, Shakib, they're not the guys that you expect them to get out that way. They are your stronger pillars, which is what we saw in the second innings. We expected the ball to move, lost 2 wickets, but the way Asalanka and Savir Vikrama, they stayed there. That was the order of the day. They didn't have to do anything else. Sometimes just doing that is enough. So in that sense, happy that Sri Lanka were able to eke out their performance, because like I'm also discussed in the Asalanka has to do a Rajapaksha. For Sri Lanka to go deep into the tournament, they need Asalanka to score. And if Sadira is also partnering them, nothing like it in terms of the batting depth.
Sadira did what we expected DDS to do, basically.
Yeah, and actually, I was surprised that Sadira was sent, but again, Sadira had a few
Yeah.
good knocks in LPL, so fair call.
Yeah, I just have a question to Nikhil here. Nikhil, do you feel the way Thiksana was bowling up front, and he also had an LBW review against Shanto? Could he have bowled a couple of more overs up front instead of bowling just the three?
100%, 100%. I think something that we discussed again is like almost going back to that same topic that there was a time when Shanaka was bowling, and I did not see that needed at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
You had your main pacers ready; they could have just bowled and closed the game out even earlier. But I think it is just a thing with captains that they want that luxury of
Hmm.
holding people back for the back end, but you're allowing the game to drift.
Yeah.
Now,
I also
yeah,
no, go ahead, go ahead. Finish it
now
off,
I
then I'll
felt
come.
had they gotten away with a few 30, 40 more runs, this deck wasn't such where they cruised to the target. So a
Hmm.
few more wickets there, a few more wickets here, they could have all been a different story.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I feel the advent of T20 has seeped into ODI cricket, because we don't really see bowlers bowling those long spells anymore. I mean, 10 years ago, and we don't even have to go 10 years. There was a time when new ball bowlers used to bowl at least 5 overs, a spell of 5 overs each, and then there was a first change bowler, so on and so forth. That doesn't happen anymore. We hardly see bowlers bowling no, and a spell of 5 6 overs these days. Maybe it's just the bowlers are sort of more comfortable bowling a 3 over spell max.
Yeah, I think it could also be conditions because you see today Rajita still bowled more than Tikshina. Now had that
Hmm.
catch been taken, maybe he would have kept Rajita on for a couple more overs. So I think it's just depending on how teams want to function because we've seen some teams have that, as you said, give them 6 7 overs up top and then don't use them at all. So
Hmm.
I think it's also the trick about having an extra bowling option that
Yeah.
you just want to have more options going towards the back end.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just makes you think, boy, about all the things which will happen with Sri Lanka. More chat in Sri Lanka in just a bit, but I just want to ask you guys chronologically if we break the game down, right? Which all went bold with our predictions 281, 264, 247. Why was it a 165 sort of thing? Or was it just Sri Lanka assessing the conditions better? So,
I think Bangladesh themselves assess the conditions better, because Shakib said that it'll be a slow track and it's gonna be slower. Commentators तो और बनवा रहे थे. So the ones who did the pitch report. So I think in my opinion Bangladesh played a better shot. Uh, I think they should have picked an extra batter instead of either of the two Mehdis, and that is just my take, because their batting depth seemed light. Not sure if that would have helped them. Uh, the I mean, it was I think the number of runs scored on this in this game is a fair reflection of the strength of these two batting teams, if I may say so. Because even in the second innings, I mean, it was not a cakewalk, to be honest, with for Sri Lanka as well.
yeah, I mean, lots of people just having their say in the comments. And keep your comments coming through because we're here for the next 20 minutes or so. We'll take your chats and we'll show you some stats as well. I'm a poet and I know it. If you guys know, you know. What will Bangladesh do with their opening with Tamim and Litton gone now? I mean, we spoke about it in the preview. Is that an area that they'll have to kind of wait for Litton to get back, of course? Or because the ODI World Cup, I'm guessing it won't be these two, Nikhil.
Yeah, and which is why I don't think they have to worry that much if they know the both of them will be, fit and fine to play the World Cup. Then I don't think it's a worry because Tamim is vastly experienced and he's somebody who's there for the big days. You can go back to 2007. You can go back to his turns in England. He's always found a way to step up on the big days. So in terms of pedigree, I think that is sorted. What I do feel they need is a lot more. Uh,
Sorry, I'm
that,
just
that
reacting because the Champions League group. Don't tell me anything. I want to see it after this live. Do not spoil the show, Satosh. Oh my God, there was a heart and mouth moment. Sorry, next. Continue.
Yeah, so I think the it's the form of Naim, Shanto, and all of them that is important. That Shanto getting a good score is good for him and good for the side that they have somebody who can then take up that role. And if some of the top order fails, at least one of them, the top four, can really then bat through if they have something. Because all of them were in good touch. Like Das had been scoring runs. Tamim hadn't had the great time, but then he's somebody that you can trust to see off the new ball, and then he can allow the others to bat at a better strike rate in that sense. So hopefully And yeah, Tamim is kind of past, but actually, I'm happy they did not go back to Somersar.
Mm. I just have a small point to add here. Now, I am a firm believer of not handing out debuts in a tournament like this. I mean, this is a big tournament, guys. I mean, I'm always very uncomfortable with the planning of the team or the thought process behind them. Uh, you know, playing debutants in a tournament which is just a few days before the World Cup. I mean, I would have rather have them open with Chanto and maybe play Afif in the middle order or at number 7 or the finisher role instead of playing a debutant today. So that is one factor. I mean, one thing that I feel that they should do. Nothing against him, nothing against the other Tamim that they played today. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's too much to ask of a debutant to step up in a multi-team tournament where every game
And
is important.
also, they had Mehdi Hassan, and I really think he's far, far underrated as a batter to bat in the power play. If you wanted somebody to open and you did not want to, you have batting depth as well in that sense, then you could play Afif, get
Yeah.
Mehdi to open. That's what he did in one of the Asia Cups before.
By the way, just to refresh your memory, boys and girls, if you guys missed the game, don't worry because we got you covered in this terms of graphics right now. And as you can see, a 5-wicket win by Sri Lanka to kickstart their tournament. What's more impressive is that they've got some of their men to come back into form of sorts, I would say. Not dramatically of certain measures, but as you can see there, Charita Sri Lanka, a man that Somesh mentioned before in the preview, getting a handy 62 under his belt. So it also just showed us, obviously this depiction doesn't show us, but essentially what I wanted to kind of bring up right now is another depiction, which we'll show you in a bit. 6 hitting in Sri Lanka since the last World Cup. It's ridiculous. Only 1 6 today in the 75, 80 overs of ODI cricket that we saw. And this stat, Vikas tells me it's on. I mean, is there any way we can talk about it, highlight it, cause for concern?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a concern because this applies for both teams playing. So yeah, I mean, I think it just points out to two things: the slowness of the wickets, and maybe the dimensions of the ground. But I'm pretty convinced about the former, not so much about the latter. Balls per boundary is still decent. So I mean, you can hit fours. It's a 6 hitting, which takes a very big bump in the reverse direction, so to speak. I mean, this numbers tells us that essentially it's averaging 3 6s per innings,
Yeah.
which is in modern day cricket, which it's nothing.
Next, does that mean that the Saturday game, India Pakistan, will probably be a 180 play 200 contest? And if it's that way, would you like it?
100%. I have always been somebody who have wants to see more artistical cricket. I don't know, for some reason I feel again just maybe what we've grown up watching. This is what we've grown up watching: scores of 200, 250 being scored, defended, and sometimes there is more fun in watching a because see, we all remember that small chase that Virat Kohli had when Mohammad Amir took 2 early wickets, because you want to see contest between bat and ball, and that is far, to me, that is far more memorable than trying to remember 350 chase 350. You could get a good knock, no doubt about it. You could get a 50 ball 100, great, but I feel it gives the game far more if you see swinging ball, a chase of 200, and a batter getting a good nice 40-50 is also as good as a ton. So it just tests you that more. It is good tingling to watch as well, because it keeps you at the edge of the seat. So, and given it's India Pakistan, I if conditions are such, I don't mind to get 200 game.
So, what do you think? Rahul Dravid, Rohit Sharma, are we watching that thinking, do we kind of chop and change? Do they kind of bring in one more spinner and be greedy or no?
They can try it. I mean, India always have the option of picking either one of Aksar or Shardul, but I don't think they'll do it because there was room for playing an extra seamer here as well. I mean, it's not like it was all. It has to be all spin, and India have two decent spinners to tackle it. I'm just thinking from a broader lens, from a World Cup perspective. Will India gain anything if it is a grinder? Maybe they will. Maybe they will because as the tournament progresses, even the 2019 World Cup towards the final, it became a contest of attrition. So these games are always helpful. You don't want to see 350 versus 350. And to be honest, I'm far more comfortable with India in such games rather than 350, because I'm not sure if India is a 350 kind of a side, to be honest.
Okay, bold call there. Of course, the India-Pakistan preview we've done in the larger Asia Cup preview, so go check that out. And I think Gurkirat also must have spoken about it from a different angle in his show earlier today, the Deep Point episode. I think 27 is available on our YouTube channel right now. Harun Iqbal, thank you so much for your question. I will give it to Som and Nix in just a bit. So will I do with the Nikhil Baiju question. But guys, I just want to talk about just one thing before I forget, because normally lots of match reviews are going to come your way at cricket.com, right? So what we've decided is turning point of each game. And I just want to force that question out of you guys. If there is a turning point, what was it? Nikhil, you mentioned a whole host of things. Could Bangladesh have done something different?
I felt Shakib's wicket was a turning point for me. Ensured the batting depth, as Som said, playing a batter light. You got your better batters already out there in the middle, and there was a lot of time left. So to me, once you score that much, you're only going to ask a miracle from your bowlers. So that or Rahim wicket, but then Rahim wicket ke pehle bhi the game was still far more difficult for Bangladesh to see through. So I think those opening spell where they lost 3 wickets, that was the turning point.
Som, do you agree? Shakib is that important as a scalp?
Yeah, I do, but I think in hindsight, I feel Rahim's wicket was even more important, because if Rahim would have stayed around, maybe 40 more runs, and the result would have been easily different. One thing that I would add, and how I've forgotten it, I don't know. I mean, how can you have 4 lefties back to back in your lineup? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
How can you have 6 righties back to back?
I mean, obviously, it's the same thing, right? I mean, that has been my pet peeve for a while. I mean, it just brought DDS into the game, which never should have been the case. And just be a little flexible. I mean, you don't have to do it. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I won't put it down as a primary reason for them losing the game, but it just makes very easy for the fielding team in terms of their bowling options, in terms of their field placement. Even the bowler himself, I mean, they don't need to alter anything. They can settle into a rhythm. They can settle into a field. So I will never appreciate any team just having the same handed batter one after the other 4 times.
Okay, fair. So those are the turning points. Now, there were plenty of man-of-the-match contenders, even though we'll have to give it from someone from a Sri Lanka perspective. Surely it's Pathirana, 4 for 32, Nix, or do you see differently?
No, I think definitely Pathirana definitely deserves to close the game out well in time for them. There is a possibility that you want to give it to Sadhira Vikrama, but again, it was the ball. So the game was set up because of Pathirana. So that's where it should go eventually, and I hope that is the case.
Sri Lanka, your man Som, 62, decent, came in at a tricky position, 3 down, chasing 160.
Yeah, but I have to. I mean, this is a very obvious kind of a game, and I don't think I will be able to disagree with Nikhil on any of those pointers. So for me as well, Pathirana is the player of the match, so to speak.
Yeah, I think one certain MS Dhoni will probably be watching from Ranchi somewhere, and will probably. No, he won't. Do you think?
No chance.
Yeah, why would he watch the Nagin Dawi? What am I saying? Anyway, let's move on to the questions.
He wouldn't even watch India-Pakistan game. He's that kind of a person.
He will, surely. India-Pakistan is an event.
Not this one. Yeah. Maybe the World Cup game or
World Cup one,
the final. Yeah.
Okay. If anyone knows in the comments, let us know if Dhoni's actually watching these games or not. By the way, sports fan saying if game shortens, then we can see some unusual changes. I think they were talking about the whole old tri-series chat that we were having earlier. Right, on to the questions and then we'll wrap proceedings. Now, Nikhil makes a good point. Not our Nikhil, but Mr. Baiju in the comments, as you can see. The Kookaburra ball used between 2013 and 2020 was conducive to Morgan ball hitting. The new Kookaburra ball 2021 onwards has reinforced seam that lets it swing more and far longer and has reduced scores. What do you guys make of this?
Good for the game. Whatever has happened for the game, happened for the better.
Yes, this is the greater good that we're talking about, where you just have to not plant your front foot wherever you want to and just hit through the line. And it is, as we discussed this in one of the videos, that the game always has such phases where you'll see something happening and then something will change, and then you'll see another phase coming up. So this is the phase where you're seeing the new ball swing, which is good, because we've had a lot of things that are already stacked in favor of batters, even though they get only one ball, but still it is good. You want see that the talk about ODIs and the relevance and context. If there is a contest, people will watch it. Bottom line.
Whatever Nicholas said, I mean, it reminded me of that Ali Zafar song, Kehti hai ye ek phase hai.
If you guys know, you guys know. By the way, just about that ball, I mean, I don't know. I just generally don't like ODI cricket about one particular facet where growing up, we always saw one ball being used, and now it's that stupid rule where it's just always in favor of batters, like Nikhil mentioned. Why didn't you answer Haroon Iqbal's question, Som? Because he goes on to ask, should teams, especially Pakistan and India, look to bat first because ball will do more movement on the lights? Both teams have good pace bowling.
I think that is the trend in Sri Lanka in general. I think we discussed it in the preview as well. Although the results have been divided, I mean, if you look at all the games since the 2019 World Cup, it's an equal split. But I think from what I feel, teams would look to bat first. The other thing which is also of consideration is the heat. Because I mean this is not very, I mean, this is not winter, so to speak. I mean, heat in Pakistan is going to be a lot more than heat in Sri Lanka for sure. But still, I mean, teams wouldn't want their bowlers and fielders to be out there first. So I think this is going to be a trend where teams would look to bat first.
Okay. Next, why don't you wrap up proceedings with a Santosh Urpa question, because it, of course, is a small little teaser of what we can guess that India will field on Saturday. Do you think that this will happen? What he's asking you in the comments.
No, I don't think so. I think they should just play the 11 that they want to play in the first game of the World Cup. That's how we've been looking at this Asia Cup for a while now. So you see that, and you take it how it goes. The max that you can do is probably play Shami for Shardul at 8. But again, there is those BD, the batting depth thing that will again be trending on social media platforms. So I think Shardul at 8 gives you good balance, and I've already called him man of the match. So yeah, he has to play.
Well done indeed, and well done Sri Lanka, because look, like we said, longest streak in one-day internationals for them. Hopefully they don't go on to do what Undertaker did, which was like 28-0 in the WrestleMania, but that's for another day. They've started this Asia Cup really well. We'll leave it there. Plenty of analysis on the cricket.com website, so check that out in the morning. No rush. In the morning when you guys are doing your business, it's always good for a read. All our stats, everything is available on the app as well, so both is an absolute must. It's a goodbye from us. We'll see you, of course, day after on Saturday, but Friday, tomorrow, we're, of course, putting our boys to the test in-house and asking them a bunch of Asia Cup questions, so that'll release at 8 p.m. But more to come from us on social media as well. Until the next time, goodbye, Somesh. Goodbye, Nikhil Popat. And like I said, who was the hysterical one? It was Sri Lanka. Let's do the noggin and get out of here. Actually, no, man. It's not even worth it. Let's end the show. Producer, where's the end sting? Oh, my God. Okay, bye.